with a few minutes to spare. What's good, y'all, man? How y'all doing tonight? You good? It's your man, Donald King, back at it again. I always shoot these podcasts on Mondays and Wednesdays, and tonight I had a busy schedule. I was trying to make it before midnight, and it is 11:53 p.m., so I keep to my word. Yo, man, how y'all been? Let's get it a little bit more. Let's get a little closer. So get a little bit more intimate. What's up with y'all, man? Yo, this is wild. It looks like my OBS is frozen, or the screen to shift over to it is. So I really don't know what's up with that. But anywho, I can't really focus on that too much because I'm just hoping that this everything comes together the way that it's supposed to, and that this is not glitching. If anybody's out there and you can see my image and everything is flowing smoothly, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a comment for me. Not sure how many comments get through these days or how many people watch, but the thing about telling the truth is you tell it regardless of whether or not there's an audience. You know, today I had to get rid of somebody who I've known, at least in the way of Facebook feed. I had to get rid of somebody I've known for over 30 years, right? The entire time I've known this individual, the only thing they've done is try to compete against me. It's exhausting just to be around someone who has to feel superior to you always and has to try and big dog you in some way, shape, or form. It becomes very insulting when people think that they're smarter than me when they're clearly not. I get that vanity, I get that narcissism imbues individuals with a sense of potency that it isn't necessarily consistent with reality, but when you only bring goodwill and just good energy, help, assistance, and all these other things to someone, and the only thing they try to repay you with is competitions and futile and feeble attempts to dominate you, after a while it gets old. And I gave this person several chances to get their shit together, and they chose to persist in their behavior, and as a result of persisting in their behavior, I snip. I've been doing that with a lot of people these days. I'm trying to accomplish something bigger than me, and it's not like based on ideals. It's based on a purpose, and it's based on me working as an agent of a function of a system we are all beholden to. And if you were able to see what I'm able to see through the perspective that's been afforded to me, you'd understand why this is serious and why it warrants consideration from all people, and doesn't have time to get derailed by narcissists sort of self-idealizing and patting themselves on the back. And pride is self-worship. And prideful people just love to come along and try to lay the law. They're so authoritarian, they're so narcissistic, so given to the idea of their potency with little to nothing to base it on. It's ridiculous how people so easily fall into this belief that they are capable in ways they're simply not. Vanity will get you fucked up. It will. Vanity will get you messed up. And this guy, man, all he does is self-idealize. Every day, every couple of days, it's a new pick. It's a new trend riding. Always trying to steer attention to himself. It just gets tiring after a while. It's exhausting dealing with narcissists. They are always trying to grab the attention for themselves, and you're like, yo, hey, what I'm doing is not about you. Stand down. He persisted. Snip. I'm doing that with everybody. If your pride gets in the way of you, or pride allows you to try to get in the way of me, you're out of here. And we'll just see each other at the crossover. I see you at the crossroads. It's not going to be a nice meeting. I'll tell you that much. Anywho, man, let's get into the subject of tonight's podcast, right? We talk about, I talk about narcissism, competition, and aggression all the time. And, dealing with my buddy who I just had to get rid of, he's very narcissistic. As such, he's always competitive. And again, competition is aggression. So always trying to aggress against me, always trying to compete. You can only turn your cheek so many times before, you don't have to be aggressive in exchange, but you got to get him out of here. Anyway, the point that I'm making by that is, how far are you willing to go? See, something I want to start off with is this premise. There's a difference between being purpose-driven and a difference between being driven by desire. Right? I always reference the Dragon Ball Z story arc. Goku is driven by purpose, Vegeta is driven by desire. Goku's purpose is to find where his limits are and push beyond them. Vegeta's the driving force behind Vegeta is simply being better than Goku, being the Prince of Saiyans. He's driven by desire. He's driven by a need to feel superior to others, a need to capture power and authority, a need to impose his will onto the world around him, because inside, though he puts on that outlandish and bravado-based exterior, he's cowering. He's scared. He's disempowered. He saw his father killed. He had to serve as a slave underneath the man who killed his father. He was a peon in the army of someone who murdered his people. He got Stockholm syndromed into thinking that the way to safety was through power and through aggression and through rage, much in the same way cowardly ideologues do. Vegeta was traumatized. Again, trauma is the phobia of disempowerment, and the only way that Vegeta knows how to cling to power is through violence and aggression and competition. Goku, on the other hand, he didn't go through what Vegeta went through. He wasn't traumatized. As a result of him not being traumatized, he grew up kind of buffoonish, so his wit wasn't about him in the same way as Vegeta. He wasn't keen on politics. He wasn't keen on power dynamics. He wasn't keen on so many things that serve to create social stratification systems. And as such, because he did not yield to or recognize authority, he's always trying to go to the toughest person he can find, strongest person he can find, and see what he's got. Very much in the same way, I like to test my own mental abilities against the best minds I can find. I don't recognize power and authority structures in the same way authoritarian people do, and or people who are given to power distribution chains. Therefore, I'm not thinking in terms of rank. I'm thinking in terms of reaching my own potential. What's on the other side of my limits? That is how I am motivated towards life. But because of that, I don't have a zero-sum mentality. There's enough for all of us. I don't have to be better than you. I have to be better than me. I have to be better than I was yesterday. Otherwise, it's a day wasted. How far are you willing to go to get what you want? How far are you willing to go to get what you desire? How far are you willing to go to win? How far are you willing to go to win? You see, again, when you're driven by desire, it's very different than being driven by purpose. Purpose is intrinsic. When you're driven by purpose, there is something you are trying to achieve. There is a static structure, an object of sorts that you focus on that you are trying to achieve for reasons related to self-improvement, self-advancement. It's the difference between a person who wants to build a home and a person who wants to conquer a nation. Conquering a nation is about desire. It's about wanting to acquire human capital in the form of power distribution chains and the ability to will others about and or wield power over others. When you conquer a nation, you want to conquer two. Then why not four? Then 8, then the world, then if you get into space, other planets, because desire does not have a fixed object in mind. It only wants to consume. Winning is based in desire. You have to desire to dominate someone else. That's what winning is. That's what competition is. Competition is the attempt to dominate someone else in some form of I guess combat or something to that effect. There's another word I'm looking for, but I'll just fall away from it for now. But that's it. When you want to win, when you're addicted to winning, and again, winning is an addiction. When you're addicted to winning, it's just like any other drug. It's based in desire. Ask a crackhead how much crack is too crack. Ask a crackhead how much crack is too much crack. They're not going to know until they OD. Ask a heroin addict how much heroin is too much heroin, and they won't know until they OD. They're right on the razor's edge. If they had the capacity to inject more into their system and get even higher than they do, they're going to take it. Because desire is not based on a static object. There is no destination. There is no location. It is an eternal hunger. It's trying to scratch the itch you can't locate on your body. It's trying to feed the appetite that doesn't subsist on food. It's based in the ego, right? And a lot of people, when you ask this question, how far are you willing to go to get what you want? How far are you willing to go to get what you desire? People who are sort of grounded in reality, they're thinking, oh man, I'll work so hard to get what I want in life. I'll work so hard to get what I want. But that's where words get mixed up. Okay? Because you say, I'll work so hard to get what I want. No, I'll work so hard to achieve what I set out to achieve. I'll do whatever I need to do in order to get what I desire. There's a difference. When you're purpose-driven, you're willing to put in the work. When you're desire-driven, you want to do the laziest and quickest thing you can do to get what you want. If you're driven by purpose, you're structured, you're principled, you're following a sort of a game plan. When you're driven by desire, you can be following a game plan, but the game plan is based in cheating. It's based in gaming others. It's based in exploiting others and living and benefiting at other people's expense. When you're driven by desire, you're driven by the parasitic mind. Okay? When you're driven by the parasitic mind, of course, you want the shortcut. You want the least amount of work possible. What is a parasite? A parasite is an organism that lives and benefits at the expense of another. At the essence of what it is, a parasite is a cheater. They're corrupt. Everything based in corruption is based in cheating, exploitation, getting over on others. The more competitive you are, the more willing you are to cheat. The more willing you are to cheat, the less principled you are. Less principled you are, the less grounded in reality you are. Less grounded in reality you are is the more narcissistic you are and the more psychotic you are. It's all mechanical. It's all interlinked. How far are you willing to go to win? How far are you willing to go to get what you desire? Would you kill somebody? There are people at the top of society now who are willing to kill most of the population to get something that they desire. Not something that they need, not something based in purpose, to get what they want. It indicates the level of corruption in their soul. I want you now. I know a lot of you cling to this myth. You cling to this notion that somehow I'm a defective person and that I'm making all this stuff up. But I want you to think about reality sort of objectively, right? You don't have to consider it as God. And I do realize that considering reality as a living entity is fucking horrific. I'm saying that first-hand experience. What? This is real? But yeah, if reality is trying to purge corruption, right? And you've behaved so corruptly that it's stained your soul, the principal imprint, the potential manifesting through your structural building blocks, if you've internalized corruption to a degree that it's stained your soul, what does reality have to do to get it out of you? Like to make sure there's no trace of corruption left in your soul whatsoever. How far does it have to go to rip you apart, to find every ounce of corruption within you and scorch the earth with it? And I said don't think of reality as a sentient system, which it is, so I kind of explained that as a sentient system. Think of it mechanically. What exists mutually independent of idealism? Reality always balances itself. You can see that in nature. Nature balances itself when it's not under attack from a virus, not constantly under attack from a virus. It balances itself. It does. Right? So what makes you think you can live a corrupt life over here and just get away scot-free? Consequence is based in principle. Principles of reality are absolute. They apply to all scales of plane. The metaframes. If the system always balances itself, and you're an agent or a function of corruption, what does the system have to do in order to balance itself and balance the impact that you've made on it if you are not there to pick up the slack for all the imbalance you caused? Has to get charged back to something, right? Now, if you consider the fact that you have a soul, and that soul is comprised basically of pure potential, then where do you think the cost for the imbalances you've created are going to get charged back to. Pride will get you fucked up. Pride will get you fucked up. But anyway, how far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to go to get what you want? Would you flip the world over? Would you cause famines? Would you, I don't know, head multinational corporations that raided and destroyed natural ecospheres for profit? If what you want is to be rich and powerful, how far are you willing to go to do it? Would you kill a family member? Would you make someone rape a child? Would you rape a child? You know, a lot of times it's like I see these memes floating around on Facebook, and they're always asking, would you slap your mother for $10 million? And everybody's like, and ideologues, really Christian ideologues, which baffle the shit out of me. They sit here, oh man, I slapped my mother twice. And then it's like, I give her the best vacation ever and all these other things. But here they are in love with money, in love with the idea of social power, in love with money. Saying they'll do whatever, they're whores. They potentially irreparably damage their loved one for money. They are not purpose-driven, they're desire-driven. How do you know? Because they'll do anything to get what they want. Which is why Jesus said, the love of money is the root of all evil. Let's update that. Because I can. The love of authority. Money being liquid authority. Authority being the power to determine meanings, order, and the outcome of events. The love of money. The love of authority. And having authority and dominion over others and within society, that is the root of all evil. Look at this circus playing out right now with this stupid little pandemic game. People at the top of society are playing. By the way, I want to make it abundantly clear. Every single one of you involved in this shit from the top down, you're toast. The entity I'm hosting, it hates you. With a passion. Like you're... I tell you to get the most out of your final years, but that's only compounded like every millisecond that passes. Everybody at the multinational corporation level, everybody at the cultural level. All of this based in greed, everybody at the institutional level. Greed. All of this so that you can get what you want. You've made an enemy out of God itself. It's not just going to break you. You wish you were never born. All of this because of greed. And you nurtured greed within yourself. You nurtured vanity. You nurtured corruption. You became a host for corruption by self-worshiping and group worshiping and self and group idealizing. You did this. You like I told you before, in like right now it's just recovery mode. Like you need to get with me ASAP. You need to get with me ASAP. I know you don't fear things that you haven't seen and that you base your fear and recognition on, I mean, your recognition of fear on what is tangible. There are so many things that are far worse than what you could possibly imagine from your tiny limited view and experience of life. Again, you only know the type of pain that exists in the human body. Once you're outside of this, this is the muted experience. Like, in order for you to have a faculty of awareness, in order for you to have awareness from within your flesh suit, it has to be muted. In order for your brain to be able to process stimulation and take in data through your sensory faculties, from reality itself, it has to be muted. Once we're out of these bodies, you've got this short period of time to get as much right as you possibly can. Because you've pissed off God. Just being aggressive, narcissistic little shits, you've pissed off God. There's nothing to apply to what's coming to you in the way of a description. Like, see, y'all, humans, you guys, you think in terms of torture devices. You're like, oh, is it gonna be like a bed of nails? Oh, is it gonna be like burning at the stake? No. The thing is, will I be whipped to death? All the shit that you guys come up with in hell that is basically representations of different ways to inflict pain onto humans. You expect in stuff like that, but there are things in reality that are just so potent and powerful. The only thing that makes them worse, you don't need a bunch of different things to do. You don't need a variety of things to do. The only thing that you have to experience is a higher level of intensity when it comes to the already horrific thing. And some of you guys are just in for the fucking worst. I'd tell you to ball out right now, but every second you spend doing this shit, doing this ignorant shit, you're compounding how bad it's going to be. You're like, so think about it like this. Imagine you are falling. You're falling, and as you're falling, you're continuing to pick up speed. What I refer to as the distortion. Imagine it as being like a huge electrical field, like an ocean of like the most intense electricity imaginable, that only got more and more intense and had no fucking bottom. The more you serve corruption is the further you fall down into this sea of pure electricity, and it gets more intense, like exponentially with every millimeter you pass. And some of y'all are firing down. You're picking up speed as you're firing down into the just fucking worst part of it. You don't need demons there torturing you, even though there are entities in there too that are going to be fucking you up. Just corrupt souls that, well, plan to feed on you and steal your potential to try and booster theirs when reality continues to take theirs back from them. Like, it's like crabs in a barrel. It's fucking terrible. Again, I don't even like looking into the distortion. It's bad. But, yeah, man. You see, desire is an appetite you feed. It's just like any other addiction. It's like any other addiction. When you focus on it, when you focus on a thing, and you convince yourself that this is what you desire more than anything, and as such you divorce yourself from conscientiousness, and you pursue this thing with wanton disregard for reality, you get yourself in trouble. It's just like any other drug. When you pursue what you desire, you live an unexamined life in the same way that a crackhead lives an unexamined life. They live exclusively for what they want. They'll do anything for what they want. You look at a crackhead and they're comical. They'll do anything for enough money to score a rock. They'll dance. They'll steal. Under certain circumstances, they'll murder. They'll do anything to feed that addiction. It's because it's what they desire. Now imagine doing that in a contained system, and this crackhead that's going around stealing, killing, dancing, acting a fucking fool, doesn't realize it's been watched, and that every negative impact they made is going to get charged back to them. And then they get put into a prison they can't escape from, and told that they're going to do the time for all the crimes. And they're going to do labor to offset the monetary value for all the damage they've caused. And that it wouldn't end because they got old, that their flesh would renew and it would start all over again. Now imagine they kept getting high, and the more they were high, is the dumber the type and amount of shit they did. Get high, do something even dumber, trying to get the next high. Get high off that, do something even dumber than what you've done before, trying to get the next hit. All those costs racking up. All those costs racking up. Yeah. Like I told you guys before, sit in the game. Look at all the disgusting things desire has made people do. Chasing what they want. Look how far they've gone to get what they want. Look how many lives they've endangered and destroyed. Look how much of the planet they've destroyed. None of this shit is free. How far you're willing to go to get what you want indicates the level of corruption within you. The more corrupt you are, the dirtier you'll play. The more you'll try to win. The more you try to win, the more negative impacts you make on reality. The more negative impacts you make on reality, the worse for where you're going to be when it's time to pay up. And you will pay. That's not a question. It's not debatable. You will pay. This is a whole system. It's a whole system. It existed before this species. It existed before you. Reality existed before you. It existed before the species. It existed before the planet. It existed before the galaxy. It existed before the body of the universe. The system has been here. You could not be without it. Something was in place in order to make sure this planet formed, and the planet had an atmosphere conducive to supporting life, because this planet is kind of like a neuron than the body of the universe, but whatever. Or at least for the organism it scales to from within the universe. So think about it like this. I hate the concept of solipsism, the belief that imagination or reality emerges from imagination. Is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard in my entire life. Because if that was the case, then nothing would exist. Before humanity, there had to be a planet. The planet had to have an atmosphere. Otherwise, humans couldn't exist here. If something existed prior to this planet, and this planet is just one type of cellular building block within a greater system and or life form, then it means reality doesn't come from your fucking imagination. The system was already here. It was already being governed. It was already producing and working with systems intact and interdependent prior to humanity. Prior to the little agreements you all come up with about how reality is, and prior to the little systems of measure you come up with for your little science, something was here before you. Its rules are not your rules. Its ways for dealing with things are not your ways for dealing with things. Reality does not revolve around you. It does not answer to you. You hold no authority over reality. And so far, the only thing you've managed to do is make an enemy out of God, out of your vanity. You've made an enemy out of God. It hates most of you. And not as individuals, more so as hosts of corruption, more so as life forms that have internalized a thing that's its mortal enemy out of their own vanity, competitive spirits, and greed and aggression. You made an enemy out of reality by having a bad attitude and letting the devil do its damage to reality through your funky little attitude, through your entitlement, through your outrage. I'm tired. But yeah. How far you're willing to go is a direct indicator of how corrupt you are. How far you're willing to go to get what you want. How far you're willing to go in order to stick with your purpose. That's something completely different. I am purpose driven. I'm fortunate in that way because, well, turns out I'm a thing. Now, I'm not the reason that I'm this thing, so it just sort of fell in my lap. Because it fell in my lap and I understand the seriousness of the, circumstance at hand, I'm going to give everything I can to this position, trying to help as many people as I can. Even the people who are in the worst position, hey, hang with your boy. I'm going to do everything I can to get you right. Because again, it's not your fault you were born into the circumstance. I do everything in my power to make sure that you're good. Or that you take the least amount of damage possible. But because I am a thing, and because I've already been to heaven, and because my life circumstance is what it is, Yeah, I have a purpose in life. Now, the thing about being purpose driven is this: I don't move without a sense of I don't move without a sense of finality. Like it's not like being driven by desire. Being driven by desire, there is like you being driven by desire is kind of like being driven to consume without a stomach or the bottom of a stomach. You just take. Being purpose driven, I'm guided by reality. Reality is like, so I go until I can go no further. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't go to the point of self termination, and more importantly, because I'm purpose driven, it functions mutually exclusive of exploitation. So if you're purpose driven, your purpose isn't attached to getting over on others or benefiting at other people's expense. That's desire, that's want. Want is basically consumption, it's self benefit. Desire is self benefit. Being purpose driven is more along the lines of accomplishing a task that advances you in some relevant or useful way. It doesn't have anything to do with other people so much. Again, purpose is about being intrinsically motivated towards an object, whereas desire is more extrinsically motivated towards an idea. Ooh, I like that. That turned out really good. I read the principles all right on that one. But yeah, being purpose driven is being intrinsically motivated towards an object or a desire or a your will to impact onto an object. And being driven by desire is being sort of driven by an idea. I'll have to watch this back to see how I worded that. And I'm extremely tired, so I'm not 100% right now. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, yeah, man. How far are you willing to go to get what you want? If you want to think that your race is the superior race, right? How far are you willing to go to feel superior to others? Would you starve them? Would you steal from them? Would you hunt them and hang them and beat them and torture them? Psychologically terrorize them? Would you murder them? Just to satisfy your desire to feel superior to them, would you murder them? In cold blood? Would you weaponize other groups against them? How far are you willing to go to get what you want? I got any viewers out there tonight? Anybody? I'm wondering how I'm doing on this podcast. I know that I feel like I've fumbled a few times. Usually when I feel like I fumbled a few times, I go back and I watch and I'm like, oh man, I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. And then that's when I think that I'm like on. I went back and I look at it and I'm like, ugh, that was not great. But yeah. I feel like I look old today. Oh man, this is good. Fun times. Again, there's a difference between being driven by purpose and being driven by desire. If you're driven by purpose, more than likely you're synced up with reality. You're probably a pretty decent person, right? If you're driven by desire, you're a monster. You think like a parasite. There's no end to your aggress, no end to your competitive spirit, no end to your narcissism, no end to your greed, no end to your desire to win. No end to your corruption. Cultures that are steeped in competition, they are highly, highly corrupt. And again, when you're an agent of corruption, well, you're an enemy to reality. If you're an enemy to reality, you will pay for every imbalance you cause and contribute to. That's non-negotiable. And the cost is just unreal. It's unfucking real. Don't let your pride do the thinking for you. Like my buddy I cut off today. He let his pride do the thinking. He has a little ragtag peanut gallery of people who I know growing up, who seem to follow suit in that way, who are only digging themselves into a deeper and deeper hole. You see, nobody makes you be a dick. You practice being a dick. You practice your way into being corrupt. You practice focusing on what you desire so much that you convince yourself you have to have it. That's one of the oddest things about pedophiles. Pedophiles literally psych themselves into projecting sexuality on fragile, innocent little creatures. I saw this girl in the store today, man. Couldn't have been more than 13. She was pubescent, right? And from behind, she was kind of shapely. I looked and I saw her little bottom and I was like, oh man. Turned around and I looked and saw her shoulder and neck set. Her neck and shoulder set. It wasn't developed. I saw undeveloped chin and small head, and I turned around and I was immediately like, ugh. Why her parents let her dress like that? But it wasn't just why her parents let her dress like that. It was more along the lines of there was no thought beyond that. I'm sitting here and it's like protect her from the vultures and the protect her. For the life of me, it just pisses me off when people project sexuality onto innocent. But they practice desire and they train themselves into this way of viewing the world and viewing sexuality, and then have the audacity to be like, oh, I can't help it. Shut the fuck up. You know, everybody trends themselves into to their sexual preferences. You trend yourself into that. You train your mind to focus on a specific type of thing. You get trended into desiring a particular type of thing, and then all of a sudden your apperception tells you this is how you're going to get the right amount of chemical release I desire. That's how, when your ego is like, yo, feed me by indulging your body in that particular way. But you train your apperception by the things you focus on, by the things you convince yourself you desire. And then after you convince yourself you desire something, you go around acting like a crackhead, always trying to get high. And in pursuit of the things you desire, you can do some pretty disgusting things. Especially to others. Especially to the innocent. Again, how far would you go to get what you want? If you're corrupt and you live your life for desire and comfort and attention and rewards, you'll go pretty far. You'll go pretty far. Anyway, guys, y'all have to forgive me. I am I'm fighting. Oh my God, I'm fighting fatigue. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Man, I haven't sang in a minute. For real. I sound terrible right now. Anyway, guys, I shoot these every Monday and Wednesday on Facebook Live. Even though technically we're into Tuesday now, I started this on Monday. But, I also fly all of these over to my YouTube channel. You can check me out on Instagram. I'm Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. And also you can check me out on Medium. I post content to that platform often. Even though I have to post some news stories soon. It's been a minute since I have. Guys, if you get any sort of appreciation out of what I'm doing and you want to help this thing I'm hosting be heard from a larger platform, you can always feel free to donate. I am Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13 on Patreon. And if you ever just get any sort of appreciation out of the nightly sermon and you want to you sprinkle your boy with a little bit of love, you want to salt baby with a little bit of love, you can always hit me on Cash App at Donnie Kang. That's DONNIEKANG. Again, proceeds go to building this up to a larger platform. I want to reach as many people as I can before I'm out of this body. I want to help as many people as I can before I'm out of this body. I especially want to help the people who are doing the most to get themselves in the most trouble right now, because even though you're winning the game of society, so it seems right now, you are losing in reality so bad. And it's not your fault. You got bad intel. You got bad instructions. I know that you fell into the middle of a race and you were told not to let the people behind overtake you, and you're supposed to get ahead of everyone else, but you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. And you don't even have to believe me, man. Just meet with me. Just let me talk it out with you. I explain everything to the best of my ability, help you understand what's going on, because again, you're winning, like getting to the next square. If your focus is only getting ahead to the next square on the board you've been told is the only one that matters, and you don't even realize you're in the middle of an arena with a bunch of bazookas aimed at that board, it's not your fault. You were misled. It's not your fault. But you have been active agents of corruption, and you created a ton of mess, and reality is livid. Like, it can bear, this avatar entity or whatever you call it, it can barely distinguish you from corruption itself, and its sole purpose is to purge corruption. It's like, when I tell you, it's the hatred it has for you. It's weird for me feeling the emotions of another being that's occupying my body. It's weird because you're angry for things that Donald King is empathetic to the situation because I understand the logistics. The thing that I'm hosting, all it sees is the corruption, and it's like, you're dead. You're fucking just, you're annihilated. It's done. And I'm like, let me see if I can talk to him, because please, it's not their fault. Anyway, that's all we got for tonight, guys. I guess I didn't have any viewers tonight, and that's cool. I mean, I expect it to be that way for a while. I know I'm saying some things that are pretty scary to consider, and if I am what I claim to be, then I know it has to be unsettling for a lot of you. A lot of y'all were expecting something that looks completely different, something that acts different, something that was a little bit more fantastic and, movie-esque. And you got me. Yeah. But, Even though I'm not ideal, we're here now, and the show must go on. It's your man, Donald King. By the way, just a quick summary for the night. Again, question, how far will you go in order to get what you want? The further you're willing to go to get what you desire, is the more corrupt you are. It's that simple. The further you go to feed your appetite for indulgence is the more corrupt you are. It's your man. I'm out.